Hello and welcome to this edition of LiTV. I'm your host, Christy Cruz, Author's Corner. Another special guest today, one of my favorite local authors from Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlitta Hatch joins me to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is diversity and inclusion. Thanks so much for joining me, Charlitta, on Author's Corner today. Tell us about your fabulous book, Black Boy Joy. I read it again this morning. I hadn't read it I guess since it came out. And I got to tell you, I love it more today than I did even when I first read it. And that's a compliment.
Thank you. Thank you. And hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here and share with you Black Boy Joy. So Black Boy Joy is a children's story that is about a mother and a son. And it was so important for me to write this book as a mother who had a son 3 years ago. And as I was reading to him, I was reading all kinds of books and started to notice that some of the books that had Black boys as the leading protagonists, they were all kind of centered around sports and Black history. And I thought maybe we just bought these books. And so as I started to do some research, I found that less than 10% of children's books at that time featured people of color, and less than 3% of those children's books had Black boys as the leading protagonists. So of course you can imagine how many of those books were maybe about Martin Luther King and Michael Jordan. And so I got all fired up about it. And I said, I want to be a part of that change. And somehow I believe in the spirit and of God. And overnight, I had Black Boy Joy dropped into my spirit. And I wrote that story. And the next day I called one of my friends and I said, I believe I wrote a children's book, but I don't know how to find an illustrator, how to get it started. She said, my stepdaughter illustrates. And I was like, no, I mean like a real illustrator. Her stepdaughter at the time was a junior in high school. Mm-hmm. So she said, why don't you send the manuscript to my stepdaughter, see what happens. She actually illustrated the cover and ended up illustrating the entire book. So a junior in high school, locally here in Charlotte, illustrated Black Boy Joy. The very next day, I was connected with another friend who actually is a publisher. So within 3 days, I had everything to be able to gift my son on his 1-year birthday, Black Boy Joy, and it has paid dividends since that time.
And that's how you know that it's something that's greater than you, because when all these things just kind of boom, boom, boom come together, how could you not trust that? I mean, it's
exactly
like being a part of a miracle.
Right. It's like I had no idea or even concept or desire to even do this. And it was amazing that I started to even think about, why is there a gap here? I didn't even know there was a gap in published children's books that feature diverse characters. And it all worked together for the good.
And I've got to give you credit too for going with that young illustrator. You know, for the LiLis book, we had the same thing. She illustrated it last summer. She was 13 years old. I know.
That's amazing.
And when I tell people that, they are really amazed and really surprised. And here's a girl with a gift and a calling and a passion. Again, that gift is greater than her. And here she is using her LiLis to develop those gifts by illustrating books at such a young age. I mean, there's not a door in the world that's not going to be open to her, because she had that faith and she pursued her passion. And so beautiful illustrations in your book.
And one of the things that I also found that was interesting was that less than 2% of all children's books were authored or illustrated by a person of color. Mm-hmm. And if you think about how, given the opportunities to young illustrators, because you kind of draw what you're used to seeing, not maliciously, right? You're just drawing what you know. And so right. By having these conversations with young women at such a young age, I think it helps to change that narrative too.
So I know you went with AK Classics, which is Helen Kimbros. I've had several authors on the show who have also worked with her. Tell our viewers about your experience with Helen and AK Classics.
Helen was amazing. She is an excellent publisher, coach, brand leader. She has expertise, I think, originated from her own published books, where she had written books to help her sons to find the love of reading using music to keep them interested. And so she's been able to harness that information, tap into our own passions, and really guide and coach us through the process. And the aggressive timeline that we were on, because I was so passionate about launching the book on my son's birthday, we had 90 days to take it from concept to publishing. And
wow.
AK Classics, we were able to do that.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, that's really good to know, because I think a lot of people have a book on their heart, and just like you and just like me, we didn't really know how to do it. It
Mhm.
can be done, and there are people out there who can lead us and guide us with, Helen being one of them. So thanks for letting folks know about your experience with her.
And I
So
think the other thing too, just to add, is when you are trying to figure out how to get published and you actually just go with the names that you know, and they won't even talk to you because you don't have tens of thousands of followers on social media, or, it was nice to have somebody locally in our town that had the experience that would even give you a conversation and then help you to kind of bring that dream to fruition. So I think it's another benefit to shopping and supporting locally or small businesses.
I agree. So one of the things that I personally love most about this book is the fact that there's obviously a Black mom and African American boy on the cover, very beautiful scene in the chair, and you talk about how it's really important for your son to see that. And I think I mentioned to you in our original conversation that we had about this book was, my son looks nothing like this with his red hair and his translucent skin. And it's important for my son to see this. So I borrowed this book from my son's bookshelf. And, he has read this book too. So I'm not actually sure what genre benefits the most, but I think it's one of those things where everybody benefits, even the kids who don't look anything like the protagonist in this picture. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And so, taking, race away for a second, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I can't get Black Boy Joy because I don't have a son, or my son's not Black." And I said, "Okay, let's talk about, children's books that have girls always cooking." One could infer that that means boys don't cook, not because the story says so, but because the images that we start to penetrate in our young minds shape our narrative of what a boy does and what a girl does. And so now, if we take that parallel to race, if we only expose our children to books that feature Black boys as it relates to Black history or sports, that may be the lens in which you create a view of a type of person, knowing that all kids and all races and genders are not monolithic. And I think it's so important, one, for Black boys to see themselves loved beyond being a sports figure or, a civil rights person, but just being a regular kid.
Right.
I think it's important for girls and boys that are not Black to see that as well, because I think it helps to humanize the experience that we are more alike than we are different, right? In the book, he goes to school, he plays with his friends, he loses at a sport, and those are concepts that all kids go through, and it's important that we teach our kids at a young age how similar we really are if we really want to change the narrative in our country.
I could not agree more with that. And it reminds me of the LiLis and what we're doing to teach them. So we say LiLi, which is short for Living Library, is that they come in all shapes, sizes, colors, orientations, backgrounds, belief systems, religions. Like a LiLi is a reader, a leader, a dreamer, and a doer. They're the hope of our future. They're the ones that are going to grow up and change the world. They're going to unlock books. They're going to unlock gifts. That's going to develop them to be limitless. And I need the LiLis to know that LiLis look like everyone. It's not just kids at a particular kind of school or kids with a particular skin color or background. LiLis are the hope of our future.
Yes.
And we need more books like Black Boy Joy to show that we are all a team here, and we are working together, that we're not separate like we think that we are, that we are a human race, we are a universe, which means one song. So my next question to you is, how many more books are you going to write? Because this was great that you broke into this industry. I think you have a super long way to go before you can really revolutionize children's books in the way that you first envisioned. So tell me about your journey going forward and your mission.
Yes. So Savan, our illustrator, is actually a freshman in college. And I actually had a conference call with her yesterday to talk about the next book. It's written, it's currently going under illustration, and our goal is to launch it this year. It is Black Boy Joy's Christmas Countdown. And we're excited about that because, again, as I think about my own journey with my own son, seeing diverse families that celebrate Christmas has been a gap for me, right? You see Kwanzaa, you're seeing Hanukkah, you're seeing all different things, but you're not seeing, a diverse family celebrating Christmas at a frequent basis, particularly featuring a Black boy. And so the book will tell a Christmas story of a family getting ready to celebrate Christmas and also teach the concepts of counting. And we will put it in the atmosphere. Christy, we are looking to make this a series. And so many more books to come. And so I'm going to claim 20.
Yay. That's what I told you. Way
Yes,
back
you did.
20.
You did. You did.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So Charlitta, where can people find you and find your book and find out more?
Absolutely. You can go to our website, www.me3project.com. So me3project.com.
Anything else you'd like to add today?
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate the fact that, and I've been keeping up with the LiLis and how you are promoting diverse authors, helping to tell the stories. And I think it's so important that it is a two-way street. So the same things that you're living out with your son, you're actually living out outside of your home. And I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. A lot of respect for you and for all that you do. It's been a pleasure to have you on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that is it for another edition of LiTV. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.